You know, it only occurred to me just like a couple of days ago that it's been over a year since Zanardi's accident. 2020 went faster than I thought. Anyway. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the words hero and inspiration are lobbed around a bit too much these days. Whether it's for soldiers, police officers, or even the doctors and nurses that have had so much to do in the last 15 months or so. It's mad, because one man's hero is another man's murder of women and children, and the word hero is usually reserved for the buzzword of the moment, frontline workers, and nobody else. Google the words world's greatest heroes, and it's the usual suspects. Churchill, Washington, Eisenhower, Caesar, Montgomery, Alexander the Great. There's no mention of Schumacher, Michael Jordan, Messi or David Beckham anywhere. But then there's the age-old argument of, they're not heroes, they're just playing a game, they're just kicking a ball, they're just driving a car, they're just running around. And a lot of time in our world of motorsport, nobody will care about a driver until they've had a serious accident instead of looking at how they've plugged away in junior categories or in the lower part of Formula 1 in a terrible car for a few years. Sophia Flörsch and Roman Grosjean immediately spring to mind in that case. But there is one driver in motorsport who goes beyond that, and that driver is Alessandro Zanardi. Now, Zanardi wasn't the most successful Formula 1 driver in history. I mean, his record is, by all accounts, anonymous. He was on grids with Mansell, Senna, Prost, Schumacher, Piquet, Hakkinen, Coulthard, Hill, Barrichello, and many others who won races and championships while he was at teams like Minardi, Lotus and Footwork. And he was once the Benetton test driver, but he moved to Lotus in 1993. Had he stayed on at Benetton, he could have had a seat alongside Schumacher for 1994, and who knows what would have happened then. Then at the end of 1994, the Lotus team went bust and Zanardi went stateside to kart, which is now Indycar, driving some of the most mental racing machines ever created. But even though he had Formula 1 experience, nobody wanted him because Italian drivers crash too much. But nevertheless, he got a drive with Chip Ganassi in 1996 and not only showed off the talent he couldn't show in Formula 1 because the cars weren't competitive enough, he also pulled off a move at the end of the season that has made motorsport highlight reels for eternity. A move called the Pass. Basically, he sent it into Laguna Seca's corkscrew against Brian Herter. It's a move that would never fly today with track limits being a thing, but when you consider that he was A, a rookie, B, come through the field, and C, done it at the corkscrew, you're going to have people take notice. And American open wheel racing fans love him for it. But it wasn't a flash in the pan thing, a one-off thing that was like a brilliant display of brilliantness and then did nothing thereafter. The following year, he went and won the championship. In 1998, he went and won it again. So all this caught the attention of Frank Williams. And I think Frank had a bit of a thing for American open-wheel drivers at this time because he went through Villeneuve, Zanardi and Montoya in the space of 5 years. Zanardi was brought back to Formula 1 for 1999, but unfortunately the Williams was unreliable and off the pace. He didn't score a point all season, and in his whole Formula 1 career, he scored one. Just 1 point. So in 2001 he returned to kart, but the pace wasn't quite there. He'd got 3 top 10 finishes and a season best of 4th in Toronto, but that was it. But on the 15th of September, just 4 days after the attacks in New York, tragedy struck at the Lausitz Ring in Germany. Long story short, after coming out of the pits, he spun on cold tyres and skidded up the banking. Patrick Compartier was able to avoid Zanardi's car, but Alex Tagliani smashed into Zanardi's car just behind the front wheels at over 200 miles an hour. His legs were amputated on impact. And let's just say, and I know it's grim, but it's facts, that if you watch the footage, not all of that red stuff flying onto the track is part of the car's livery. Yeah, that's his blood and parts of his legs. He lost 75% of the blood in his body and was given the last rites by a local Catholic priest. His legs were beyond saving and doctors spent hours trying to save what was left. He spent longer than 15 minutes with less than a litre of blood in his body and then had 15 operations and had 7 cardiac arrests. For a modern comparison, see the accident that Billy Munger had at Donington Park a few years back. The two drivers have since become friends. And for most people, that'd be it. Career over, life over, just got to live out the rest of my days, but Zanardi was intent on racing again. He designed his own prosthetics because he thought all the ones available were crap, and designed them so that they could put up with the demands of racing and walking. And then just 2 years later, he was racing again in the European Touring Car Championship, where he finished 7th in a one-off appearance at Monza. Then the year after, he returned to racing full-time. And then in 2005, he became the first disabled driver to win a motorsports event when he won at Oschersleben in Germany, and then went on to win 4 more. But it wasn't just motorsport he was getting back into, he also took an interest in hand cycling, and took 4th place in the 2007 New York Marathon with only a month of training. In 2012 at the London Olympics, he won the men's road time trial at Brands Hatch, and followed it with another gold medal in the individual H4 road race, and then followed that with a silver in the H4 relay. And his bikes were constructed by Dallara, who supply the chassis for Indycar and other things like that. Then 4 years later in Rio, he won the H5 gold medal in time trial, he won the mixed relay and got a silver in the road race. And he won that silver medal 15 years to the day after that crash in Germany. In Britain there's a show called The Last Leg, which is a comedy-based review show of the 2012 Paralympics, and it carried on into the 2016 Olympics. It'll probably carry on for Tokyo, and it's now become like a weekly satire show as well. The show is hosted by Adam Hills, who's an Australian comedian with a prosthetic leg. He's joined by Alex Brooker, who is a TV presenter who was born with birth defects and has a prosthetic leg. And they're joined by comedian Josh Widdicombe, who is from Devon. And after Zanardi won that gold medal, Brooker admitted how much of a fan he was, while adding that Zanardi was more of a hero than Justin Timberlake and Thierry Henry, and then explained to the audience basically what I said earlier with the crash, the lack of blood, last rites, all that stuff. And then he read a quote from Zanardi after that race, which was, "Normally I don't thank God for these types of things because I think God's got better things to be doing, but today's too much. I feel lucky that my life is a never-ending privilege." And then Brooker added, "Look, I've been disabled all my life. I've complained about it when I wanted to, But now I come on this show and I'm able to celebrate my disability and be confident, even if I'll never truly be okay with being disabled. And able-bodied people will probably watch this and be inspired, but he inspires me. To see somebody talk the way he does about disability, to me it means the world." So all this makes it even more horrible when on the 19th of June 2020, Zanardi was seriously injured when he lost control on a downward section of a road race and hit an oncoming lorry, suffering head injuries and cranial trauma. He's still recovering, but even still, he's not giving up. And that's what's so great about Alex Zanardi. He's basically telling us, I say us more able-bodied people, hey, I'm doing it. What's your excuse? The sort of, losing this weight is hard, doing this is hard, going for a long walk is tedious. And he's like, motherfucker, you still got your legs at least. Use them. And even though he was run over by a 42-ton lorry, he's still determined to recover. Now apparently he can interact with his family, but he still needs to relearn how to speak after being in comas for so long, because the vocal cords need to gain elasticity or something, but at least it's a start. So he might not be tackling people wielding knives or charging head-on into battle or trying to prevent the spread of a virus, but he's a hero. Because to me, a hero is someone you wish to emulate, or at the very least, someone who does something that makes you go, wow. And this is someone who had a normal life and then had to adapt to a whole new one, as opposed to being born with blindness or spina bifida or anything like that. So, yeah, something a bit more poignant today, something to make you think. Do you have heroes who aren't necessarily the societal definition of the word hero? Did you watch Zanardi in kart back in the day? As always, leave any comments in the designated comment leaving place and get a discussion going, that is, after all, why this series exists. Now, if you want to continue discussing things in real time, links to Discord, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff will be down in the description, along with links where you can support the channel at a more personal level, like these lovely people on your screen. So until next time, I've been Ada Millward. Remember to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you all again soon for another video. So until then, goodbye.